Hi everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant, and let's learn some more about the Pentacles. Well, after the 2 card, this solitary figure juggling so much, we get this 3 of Pentacles, which is, teamwork. Teamwork is dream work, and it's kind of awesome. It's pretty much a departure from the 2, but it's so good and it's so encouraging. And the idea here is this harmony that's happening in the picture. So as you can see on this 3 cards, you've got 3 figures and they're all working together. This is a card of collaboration. You've got the Mason, who is actually, constructing this church. You've got the architect with his plans, and you've got the monk who is overseeing what's happening. And these 3 figures sort of represent body, mind, and spirit in ourselves, and the way that we have to continually work to bring these things together. But it also speaks of very tangible things. I mean, this is a church that they're constructing. This is a solid edifice. So this also speaks about literal collaboration, about the ways in which we work with other individuals to build something important in our lives. Sometimes this speaks about family. Sometimes this speaks about, jobs. Sometimes this speaks about friends and neighbors, people that are trying to do something together, to collaborate, to make something long-lasting that speaks of our eternal natures in a way. It's building something good. And when you're talking about families and jobs and maybe a community coming together to do something, that's all very good. And you can see that in this card, that what they're doing is something that's very good. Now, because this card is talking about collaboration and about building, it's calling on us to pay attention to what we are building in our own lives. It may speak, like, as I said, to a specific situation, a specific job, or certain people in your lives, but it does at times simply ask us, as a lot of the cards do, to go inward and think, what is it that I'm building in my life, for the people in my life? All of these questions, but it assures us that there are people at the ready and in our lives already, or sometimes coming into our lives, who can help us accomplish the things that we most desire to accomplish in our lives. And that's a great message. It's a very I find this to be a constructive, obviously, a construction, but constructive, helpful, but also a rather peaceful card, knowing that help is there when you need it. Well, after we had all that help and construction in the 3 card, you get this 4 of Pentacles. And it's, again, a solitary figure instead of this card of cooperation with other figures. Now, this solitary figure is very royal looking, right? He's got the crown, he's got the, fancy clothes. And what he's doing is holding on to his 4 coins for dear life. He's got feet on 2 of the coins. He's like holding the 1 coin. This card is sometimes called the miser card, and it can be about that. I mean, it can be about, again, our relationship to money. It can be about being very overly, I should say, materialistic, about getting caught up in that materialistic consumerism. That is so easy to get caught up in. But this, often speaks to that in sort of a negative way. And yet, on the other hand, it can also be about saving. It can be about encouraging people to actually save money, and often for something that's coming up in their lives that you know, the rest of the reading may speak about. I've had people ask me things like, am I going to be able to buy a car? And sometimes this card will come up, and it's like, well, yes, but you know, you need to save. It may take a while. So those kinds of questions could be answered by this card. But it asks us to look at our relationship with money. What does money mean in our life? Is it a positive force? Is it a feeling of deprivation? Is it a feeling of I have to hoard as much as I can for whatever reason? That can be a positive thing. When I say hoard, that doesn't say positive, but you know, the saving can be positive. The hoarding, not quite so much. Now you can see that this figure in the background, there's the city, but you can, if you'll also notice, and this will become kind of important in another card down the way, he is cut off from the city. There's no road to the city. It's the towns, and then this lonely figure up on a hill with his money. The coin that he's holding is actually blocking his heart chakra and his throat chakra too. So it's this, he's like so cut off because he's consumed with money. Now, as I said, that can be both positive and negative, but often this does call on us to examine our own relationship with money and relationship with the way that we save money, but also what we think money and things bring to our life. You know, do we have a healthy understanding of what's important in our lives? Is it things, as it is to this miser in the card, or is it people? The people that this figure in this card is completely cut off from. So it is very much a card of self-examination when it is related to those kinds of things. And then again, it can be the simple idea of, you know, saving, preparing for a rainy day, those kinds of things. It depends on the other cards. It depends on the question that your client is asking, and it depends on your client. Remember how I said in the Wands cards that the 5 cards are often a card of challenge? Well, you know, you can see it pretty clearly in this 5 of Pentacles. This is a card that when you turn it over, people will be like, oh no, you know. But often this card is an acknowledgement. Now, as you can see, there's 2 figures in the card, and they're both miserable. I mean, the woman who's leading the way is, you know, shivering in this very light blankety kind of thing, and then the figure behind her is literally on crutches, and they're both stumbling through the snow. And you know how you remember things a certain way? Whenever I see this card, I call this my Stella Dallas card, because I always think of the movie Stella Dallas when I see it. How she is standing outside this window in the rain at the end of the movie. If you've never seen it, you really need to seek it out. It's great. But it just reminds me of that, because like in that movie, there's like this warm, happy thing going on the inside at the other side of the window. Now at the other side of the window in this card, it's a church, and you can see the yellow light, right? That happy warmth radiating, but the people in the card don't see it at all. These 2 figures, they're stumbling, not even looking, stumbling through the snow. So what this card generally speaks to is an actual challenge, somebody who is going through something. It's often a loss, a real loss, a job, a home, you know, your savings. anything like that, anything very physical. And it can be, you know, several things. And it's this feeling of loss and lack. And it's this acknowledgement that you're going through a very difficult time. And it's not something that you ever want to minimize in a reading, because even though you may not know the extent of what this person has lost, you know when you get this card that it is just sort of made their life come to a screeching halt. Like they cannot seem to get past this. Now, it may be something that's recently happened, and so, you know, they're just working through it. And this card tells them that it is something that you can work through. But I feel like whenever I see this card, I don't want to minimize what somebody may be going through, because it's quite profound in their lives. This card can also speak to a sort of a lack mindset. And that can be this feeling of, I don't deserve this. Oh, it'll never happen for me. This always happens to me. You know, I'm going along and then something terrible happens. And that is a mindset that takes some getting over. I mean, that is a hardship to overcome, but you can. And this card wants to tell you that you can. It's like, pay attention to the light in the window. There is hope. There's also a feeling with this card of isolation. Now, often when people come to you for a reading, they come because they're feeling a little bit isolated. You know, they don't know exactly where to turn or where else to turn for the answers that they're seeking. So that's not, you know, an unusual state to be in for somebody who's having a tarot reading, but this speaks to the level of that. You know, this person in this card, or the person that you're reading for, is feeling like profoundly isolated and looking for hope. But there is hope. Again, that's what the 5 Pentacles in the window say. There is hope. It's like, look, you know, you just need to turn and look. And in a way, it's, you know, looking at something differently. But there is hope to be found. And so even though this is an acknowledgement of difficulties and the struggle that you're going through, it's also letting you know that there is hope. There is definite hope. And, you know, you can come out of this, and you will come out of this. And we'll see that as the cards progress. I will mention, too, that one of the things about the figures in this card is that you can think of the figure with the crutch as actually being a part of the first figure. That's like the crippled self, you know, that's the ego or the battered self that's sort of trailing behind, that almost haunts this figure. So there's that feeling of, I mean, it's a sadness overall, but it's definitely can be overcome. And that's, you know, that's what the cards are about, is giving people hope and understanding. So the 6 of Pentacles, and now we've got something almost completely different from the last card. What we've got is this another rich kind of guy, and we've got the 2 beggars at his feet. Now this is a very, this is one of those cards that has dual meanings. And, you know, most cards do have, you know, several meanings, but this is quite apparent for me and will be for you, I'm sure, when you're reading, because it usually speaks to the person or situation being about one or the other, the giver or the receiver. You've got the 2 beggars that are getting help in this, and you've got the generous gentleman who's you know, doling out the coins. You've got the scale, and the scale is balanced, but it also speaks to sort of a power dynamic, right? Sometimes you are the giver, sometimes you are the receiver. So this card can speak to generosity and charity and giving and being mindful of your place in the world. Because if you are in a position where you can help others, it's important to be mindful of that. And by being mindful, you are better able to see opportunities when they come, opportunities to help, opportunities to give. On the other hand, you may be the receiver. Now, it's important to remember as the receiver that sometimes that's how it has to be. Sometimes we need help, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to receive help. If you need help and there are people willing to help you, it not only benefits you, but it benefits the giver. You know what it feels like to have somebody love a Christmas gift that you've given them, or a birthday gift, or any kind of thing that you've done for somebody and they've been totally appreciative. It feels wonderful. So it's not just a matter of taking. In your receiving, you're also offering something to the giver. And that's what this card is all about. It's about giving and receiving, being sort of happy and thankful to be either one. And this Six of Pentacles is also an assurance to people that there is help available if you will seek it, and if you will allow yourself to accept it. And this may be, from a person, this may be some sort of institutional help. This may be something that you this may be some sort of grant or some sort of loan or something like that. But the idea is that there is some way that you can receive help, and there are people willing to help you. So it's a very nice card, and it's a very hopeful card. And what I love about this card is I feel like it's a kind card, and there's just not enough kindness in the world. And when you get this card, it's an assurance that there really is a lot of kindness in the world, and it's available to you to give and to receive.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please come back and learn more about the Pentacles cards.